might feel like only yesterday we were celebrating promotion on the pitch at Crewe, but football stops for no one, and it's eyes on next season already with the retained list released and plenty of talking points coming from it as the youth squad takes its first steps in taking shape for next season. Hello all, hope you're feeling good, still sporting that promotion glow. I'm Julian Roberts and we'll be chatting through the U's retained list today to see what we make of the news of who's leaving at the end of their contracts and who's staying, of course. I've got the lovely Jack Swindlehurst with me. You weren't on the post-Crewe pod, so it's probably worth checking in with how your day went and how you're feeling today. It's Thursday, to be clear, as well, so a few days later. How are you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the dust has settled, but yeah, what a day. I mean, it's been said already on podcasts and around the land. What an awful way to get there, to kind of stumble there, if you will. But yeah, fantastic feeling, really good to be there, celebrate with everyone. And yeah, it was a great day apart from the football. And it was just a really nice feeling to kind of, we didn't get the last promotion properly because of COVID. And then obviously we were on the pitch when we stopped getting relegated, but to kind of celebrate, something, primarily so positive with the players and with all the fans was, brilliant day out. So yeah, still feeling great from it.
Did you celebrate with the Smirnoff Ice?
I did actually, yeah, on my own.
Yeah,
I definitely misread the situation and was like, well, I thought the group that I was with had maybe already bolted and were heading towards the train station. So I panicked a little bit, got to the pub when I realised people were still in the ground and completely missed, the plate lift, but had a really nice decompress Smirnoff Ice in the Cheshire Arms with a couple of other United fans who clearly did the same.
Well, look, that you missed the lovely little plate getting lifted, mate. What a moment! But I'm sure you've relived it 1,000 times with the videos. Matt Caspell, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, man, still good. As you say, brutal. All the players get to go on holiday now, and here we are a couple of days later, just in the trenches doing another pod.
Does it feel like it's got quicker in recent years, or am I just misremembering?
Everyone was at it. Like yesterday, day before, it just seemed to be a cavalcade of
we're only 3-4 days after the end of the season, and all the squads are sort of torn in half already. I thought it was. I might be misremembering, but I thought back in the day it was sort of 2-3 weeks,
at least a week or something. Or maybe, I wonder if it's this like almost social media now has made it like necessary to go a bit earlier. I mean, as I said yesterday in the group chat, the pure drama of the retained list has kind of been taken away now because all the players get to do their individual goodbyes. Whereas can you imagine you wake up after Crewe, 9 a.m. Like, there it is.
Imagine before,
like as the full-time whistle, Sean Derry style, like
as the lineups come out.
Has the lineups come out? I don't know about that.
It'd be like asterisk last appearance for the club.
I don't know about that. It does make me realise though, during the whole sort of tiny ashtray celebrations, the little silver plate, I didn't pay any attention. I wasn't looking at the body language and being like, who's off? But maybe next time you got to like really stare at them and be like, who's jetting us?
To be fair, neither was I, but I think even like Corey Smith, for example, spoilers, I don't think that's a shock that he left, but he looked like he was giving it enough in the celebration.
Smith was giving loads. That gave me like retirement energy. Like that's like end of career. Like
maybe
I'm wrapping it up and I've just, I'm going to go for it basically.
I think you've probably got to think even like a Ben Purrington who pops up in the amber angle, which is excellent. And I've watched a couple of times, and actually all the media that's come out of the club, it's something we probably didn't mention, Caspell, when we talked about how much we've watched all the different content, but it's all been amazing. All the different videos that have come out, and
it's what Harris says about CUFC, which I think you highlighted in the group chat. It's just like it's just peak.
What does he actually say? Because I actually misheard it. Swindle, you managed to decode it, didn't you? I think
he said he's not. I think he said something along the lines of he's not done anything this year, but here he is.
And pushed him into the changing room. Iconic, amazing.
What a guy!
And you're so right. What he says to Bennett in his little speech is so good as well. Like he says something like, "Who'd have thought it?" Him as well, or something like that.
Yeah, it is like that. He just absolutely seems to find a way to sort of. Are they compliments? I don't really know. A little like I don't know, but it's great.
But anyway, all the content's been amazing that comes out, and like you even look at like a Purrington in one of those videos who is obviously buzzing. You probably forget that even if they are moving on, how big an achievement promotion is for them, and also this whole thing of like he's got a promotion on his CV for him personally, wherever his next move is, it's probably a plus that he was part of the best defence in the EFL, for example, and like Smith being a leader in one, in a promotion winning side. These are good things, even if their story with the club comes to an end. We talk through all these cases, but there's obviously some big ones to talk through that I think we need to devote most of the pod to. We've got to start with Michael Morrison. He announced it on his own Instagram, got that kind of, as you say, Caspell. I'm quite glad that he got his own sort of moment for it to not just be lumped in a press release.
No,
I know you think it's woke.
It's woke, mate. I think it's woke. All these goodbye messages are woke. Just send the news out. I miss the CFAX days of just waiting for page 47. see who's coming and
going. Little club call maybe back in the day.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I don't know. But look, on a serious note, we're not often particularly serious, but Michael Morrison, the word legend gets thrown around a lot at football clubs. But I don't think it's ever been more applicable than Morrow. Comes through the academy, 247 career appearances over 2 spells, part of the Great Escape, obviously brought back in January of that season, and then so fitting that he signs off with a promotion. Caspell, did it bring a tear to your eye seeing him go?
Not quite, but just try and keep that stiff upper lip, I guess. Do you know what it means? It means that I am now older than our entire playing squad. You were clinging on. Yeah, that was it. So if you want to go and get Wes for League One, then that'd be great. No, mate. I mean, yeah, he is a club legend, definitely. Across 2 spells, 2 very different spells, I would say. When he first came through into the first team, he was a very exciting prospect, and at a time when we needed some optimism, frankly, as a football club. We were pretty down on our heels, sort of trying to make our way in the conference with those threadbare squads we were putting together when we started out way back then. I don't really remember his debut. I'm pretty sure I was there. What's great about it is a 1-0 defeat at Halifax, witnessed by 1,600 people.
Wow.
Which just feels hard to imagine.
He was age 17. Do you remember there being, I mean, if you can cast your mind back 21 years, do you remember there being like a lot of clamour for him as a name to break into the squad that year or anything like that?
No, but that might be me not remembering. I don't remember it being a big, get this guy in the first squad because he's class. I think it was just I think it just became very clear when he did get into the first team. It was like, oh, this guy has really got something. And obviously just a good opportunity for him to get through into that sort of team and then establish himself at a really young age as one of our primary centre backs, obviously really good. And then obviously wind it way forward. Back he comes. As you say, part of the Great Escape, which is a great achievement, and then gets himself a promotion. And you just know this season, even though he's not been heavily involved in the playing side, especially this calendar year, you can just tell what a big sort of character he is in the dressing room as well. You just know he's that sort of player, even if he, is only in and around the squad, that he's going to be right there and then sort of working with the young centre-back. So I think it's like no coincidence that centre-back unit for us this season has been so mature and strong and high performing as well, and it's definitely his influence is definitely around that as well.
Someone on the message board put a little memory from earlier in the season. I think it was a pizza trophy game that he wasn't even playing in. He was just in the stands and there was a break in play and he goes over and speaks to, I think it's Watson Jobe, I can't remember off the top of my head, or maybe Bradshaw even. And just you could clearly see that influence and the experience and how much that will have translated across the defensive record that we've ended up with. And he's obviously been a huge part of that. Would he, right on the spot, Caspell, does he go into your Cambridge Legends 11?
God, we've had so many good centre-backs. I feel like it's a very subscribed position in the United Legends team. He's got to be up there. He's in the conversation.
I think he's got to be, hasn't he? I think with this promotion, that might tip him over the edge to being in there for me.
I think it's worth pointing out that none of us on this pod, except Jord almost, is over the age of 40, because I think he'd have a few other names thrown in. So maybe we'll call it maybe call it modern era, or whatever we call it, post
21st century. How about that?
21st century for sure. Then definitely get him in there. I think there's probably some centre backs from the late 80s, early 90s who would certainly be in with a shout as well. But yeah, fine. In my lived experience watching Cambridge United, which obviously me and Morrow are about the same age, so it's pretty on a parallel. He's definitely all the way up there, definitely.
Well, look, whether he's in your 11 or not, I think everyone listening and anyone associated with United recognises him as a modern great for sure. But looking forward, Swindle, I mean, is it the right decision? Is it no room for too much sentimentality, or has he still got something to offer?
I don't know. I think also probably quite a lot of it will be on his terms as well. I don't think this is necessarily just a one, a singular decision made by one or the other. I think probably there's been a conversation going on. We know that Morrow's got other things going on outside of football, running a gym. And I think, like you say, I think this season he's probably been, for all intents and purposes, a coach, and a really good one at that. And it might be that, Morrow's going to take a step back for a bit and come back. I could really imagine seeing him coming into the club and, like you say, being, whether it's working with the youth squad or with, that defensive unit, he is such a kind of authority on that. And I think, this season, Caspell alluded to it there, that like our centre backs have been so assured this season. Probably a lot of it is down to Morrow kind of being that guide for them. Hasn't played so much, hasn't featured, but I think it's the right time. He looked happy, and it was just a very fond farewell. On Instagram, there was no bitterness. Sometimes I think when a player gets kind of shoehorned out, you can see that it's a little bit tainted. There was none of that, so I think it's right on everyone's terms, and I really hope that it's not the last time we see Morrow in one shape or another at Cambridge United. But yeah, I think goodbye for now, and the right time, because League One's a step up, and I think really we need to be kind of building this squad for the future, and I think it's a really lovely time to say goodbye to a club legend.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of half expecting, I mean, maybe it'll still happen, but I was half expecting to see Morrow maybe make that move into coaching in this setup at some point. Maybe it's not as soon as now, but the other thing I was just going to say on that is I know that he still lives up in Birmingham somewhere. I'm pretty sure someone told me that he lives the furthest away of any player or staff, and he does a 2.5 hour commute whenever he needs to each way. That might have something to do with it as well. I know he's obviously got a young family. Maybe he's just getting to a point where he thinks, look, I can rock up to another year or two at like Solihull Moors, for example. Or I don't know, maybe you can get a League Two deal at Walsall. Two random examples, but somewhere nearby. And that's a big priority for him at the moment. And maybe his story continues later on. Sorry, I interrupted you, Swindle.
No, exactly the same thing. I think, by the sounds of that Instagram post, it is a kind of, on to the next thing and on to new things. And I think, like you say, it might be a little bit of kind of family time, a bit of stability and somewhere closer to home. But as I said, and you said, it'd be really nice to see him come back in a couple of years and take on a coaching role and be involved. And, if we're still in League One when that happens, a lot of that is down to the hard work of him, in that Great Escape year and being, so solid for so many years in his second spell here, and carrying a lot of other centre backs who maybe weren't quite up to it, but also bringing centre backs in. There's a very famous, recently famous social media post going around. A nameless Cambridge United fan posted at the start of the season about getting Kel Watts as far away from the pitch as possible and never playing him. And now look, arguably player of the season. So I think, having someone like Morrow there to nurture talent when they come in and it's a little bit raw is kind of invaluable. And that is part of his legacy as well as what he did on the pitch. I think it's, the influence he has in the dressing room.
Yeah, definitely. There's something quite nice, Caspell, about how, thinking back to Saturday, we're watching Hughes get promoted at Crewe with one legendary local centre-half in the stands in Josh Coulson, watching the final game of another legendary local centre-half in Michael Morrison. And you're right about being blessed in that department in terms of legends. But there's also, with Morrow, there is that local connection, which is probably something that actually runs right through the club. We've spoken about this a load of times with obviously Bonner, but even all the way up to the board and Paul Barry, and that kind of backbone of, I don't know if you want to call it Cambridge United DNA, but there's something in it with Morrow. And do you think that's an aspect that we'll miss? Something that's like an intangible connection to a football club in that leadership role as well?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I just think we'll come on to recruitment later, but they've just got to be. We've shed quite a few senior pros in this retain list, basically. So I'm interested to see what the plan is in terms of getting more, I guess, balance of experience and youth in that squad. I think the local thing is difficult, I guess. I don't know how important it is. It is good to have, but we've got so much of it still in the club, if you know what I mean. If you look like people like Liam O'Neill, on the staff, obviously we know friend of the pod, Josh Coulson, is on the staff now. So we've done a really good job of retaining those club legend like personalities in the building. So I just feel like we're pretty well stocked anyway. But yeah, definitely he'll be a miss.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, farewell, Morrow, absolute ledge. I'm sure we'll try and get you on the pod at some stage to try and do a bit of a chat about all the two spells at United and everything that happened over those two spells. Moving on, because there's plenty to go through here, and I think on the whole, Caspell, unless you think I'm wrong, it was probably a fairly straightforward retained list. I mean, obviously an emotional one with Morrow, but I think deep down everyone kind of knows it's probably the right time, as we just said. But there was probably one big discussion point outside of Morrow, which was James Brophy, a player who I was kind of just thinking about this. In a way, over his time at United, has maybe divided opinion and still continues to divide opinion, even on his announcement of him leaving. A lot of the criticism for him in League One was like he's a fantastic ball carrier, probably someone who's underrated, but really lacked an end product. And weirdly, this season, kind of, especially the way he started, managed to sort of maybe not fix that, but definitely improve his end product and his contribution to goals and assists. But he's been let go. This is probably the biggest surprise. How big a surprise is it to you, Caspell?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by this one. I mean, as you say, he's had an interesting whole career with United, 5 really good years, over 200 appearances, universally fit. He's injured like one time, if you know what I mean, which is...
that's a big thing for me, sorry. His availability has just been insane.
Well, not just availability, but like genuinely a really intelligent footballer, a hard-working, like whatever you think about end product or what he brings to a team, like you can guarantee hard work. I've never thought this guy's not putting a shift in. Has anyone ever questioned his work ethic? Never.
And then also positionally flexible. He's played
positionally
on the left,
flexible,
on the right, left wing back, centre mid.
Defensively responsible though. Do you know what I mean? Like a guy you will look at and you'll trust. So if you ask him to play actually at left back, you know that he will actually do it. Do you know what I mean? In a way, like without knowing the ins and outs or whatever, I would call him as close to like a model pro as you could hope to have. He's clearly like a personality in the changing room as well. He seems well liked. I think there's more to this that we're never quite going to get to the bottom of, or certainly not in the near future. I certainly don't think it's as straightforward as we have released him. I'm not sure that, I think there's a few like shades of grey within this. I think maybe at his age, I think he turns 32 next season. He wants first team football. By the numbers, he's been one of our strongest players this season. I think he's one of the highest chance creators in the entire division. I think he maybe fancies, he might actually get himself an upward move, or at least a really lucrative sideways move. And I think he fancies like one more go. And the sense I'm getting is that he's been told maybe he might be like part of a squad, but no real assurances about playing time or first team football. And we know from the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks there's this hand injury, but he did seem to sort of be not quite used as much as he has been, and not quite as in the side as he has been over the last few months. So the writing was maybe on the wall with this, but yeah, I think in a sort of blue sky world where you just get to keep whoever you want, I probably would have held on to him for all the reasons we just discussed. Also, he is just like, and he's proven it with the season we just had, he is a productive, there is end product there as well. Obviously at League One level, that maybe would have been interesting to see, and maybe we still will find out if he lands well with another club. Who knows? Maybe that's Leighton Orient.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see him getting a League One move. Like my personal view on it is that I would have kept him as an option, as you said. I think forget the sort of, you rightly point out the fact that he might not want to just be an option and might back himself to go elsewhere, and the two things might just not sort of coalesce. But if that was an option, if it was just our decision, I think is a known reliable quantity with the amount of quality he's got, I personally would have kept him. But I also understand why at 31, 32, they might think it's the right time to say goodbye and try to upgrade somewhere there. Or and it also doesn't surprise me, like you rightly said, it was very telling that when the moment Mayer was fit, he was basically straight back in that side. And Mayer's been fantastic. It's not really anything on Mayer, but it was very clear, I think, Harris's sort of hierarchy in that position. So it wasn't something that came as a surprise to me. What about you, Swindle? Would you have kept him on personally?
Yeah, I definitely would have done as an option, but I think Caspell's, touched on it, and so have you. I think there's more to it. I think, quite often at this level of football, conversations are had in a dressing room about what a player wants and what a manager wants from the players, and if they don't align, that can cause a little bit of friction. And I think, as you both referenced, like a player at this point in their career, if they're going to want to be a kind of, a mainstay in a team and they're not going to get it, then they're well within their rights to move on. I think we spoke earlier in the pod about how you can see players in that last point after the final whistle goes in the celebrations, that they're kind of, the way that they're approaching it, you can kind of see the writings on the wall a bit. And I think we very much saw that with Brophy. I think you see the post-match interview, and there was, that glint in his eye maybe had gone, and I think there was a little bit of him kind of saying goodbye in that. And I do feel that I knew at that point that I think Brophy was gone, and in his celebrations you could see there was a kind of like, a farewell aspect to it. So I think he knew, and I think, as we've said, there's no point in speculating what the conversations were or anything, but I think at that point it is just Brophy wants match time, and we couldn't give him enough of that. He will be really missed. I think he's just so ever present, and you both touched on the fact that he's actually developed his game so much at Cambridge United and now has that end product, and the versatility in the ability to play kind of across the pitch is going to be sorely missed. It's going to be a big one to replace for a number of reasons, and also in a number of positions. So there's going to have to be some real kind of solid players on the left hand side, but also in the centre, and those that are willing to kind of run and protect the ball when it's going back as well as going forward. So I think he'll be really missed, but when you get promoted, things like this happen. I think there is a big kind of clear out, and it's going to be one of those really important transfer windows where you look to replace players, with a bit more youth, but with that kind of staying power and proven ability as well.
Do you think it, I mean, that's the point I was going to ask. Do you think it indicates a kind of ruthless, cutthroat nature, just as an indication, this one, that the way that we're going to approach recruitment next season and squad building?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think we look back at the last time we went up to League One, and we kept some players, and we had a few different kind of players that came in and used the loan market in a certain way, and we survived in League One a couple of years, and we were very much on the edge. The Great Escape we always talk about, and there were, another year in there where we were close, and then obviously fell victim to relegation last season. So I think what they want to do this time going up is not just kind of survive. I think Cambridge United are probably going to be aiming for a bit more, and trying to make the most out of their attendance in League One, and not be in that conversation of teams that are definitely going to be in the relegation zone. We love to be the underdog or whatever, but I think Cambridge United really want to be taken seriously at this level, and have given it a go. And the owners have come out and said sometimes you need to take a step back to take a step forward. I think if we're going to take a step forward in going up this time, we need to be more than just surviving in League One. And I think that's the mentality that will be going into it. And I think there is a little bit of ruthlessness around retained, and you'll probably see it throughout the summer. There's some players in that squad currently, who may not feature much next season, and we may see them leave the club or go on season-long loans. So I think there will be a lot of turnover, and I think it is a kind of ruthlessness that Neil Harris and his staff carry, but also the club are adjusting their mentality from the last time it got promoted to League One.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. The next question I was going to ask was, what are your favourite James Brophy memories? And off the top of my head, I can't. There's not one that's
it's him. It's him doing the diving header on the inflatable ball at Port Vale.
Yes,
it has to be.
Great shout.
If it's not that, then, and to be honest, like very recent, but his enjoyment / piss taking of the little silver plate in the video when Morrow picks it up, he literally is laughing his head off, which I'm a big fan of as well. So. Sorry for not thinking of anything from your on-pitch.
well, I've got an on-pitch one that's just come to mind, which is scoring against Ipswich at the Abbey.
All right.
Then. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. That's a bit more serious.
I mean, 7 goals in 200 odd appearances, according to Wikipedia, is
Let's not. Can we not? Can we not do this again? Can we not do the end product thing again, mate? Jesus,
it's not the time, is it?
Not now.
It's not the time. Probably the only other maybe marginal call to make here was Shane McLaughlin. I mean, I say marginal, probably the only one that had any sort of conversation around it. Right decision here, Caspell, to let him go?
I mean, in the sense that it feels like we're trying to be not deliberately ruthless, but where they've drawn the line for like decision making. Basically, if Brophy's getting lost, then he has to kind of go in by that sort of weird logic, if that makes sense.
You don't keep McLaughlin and get rid of Brophy, really, do you?
Yeah, unless the conversations are a bit different than we think they are. It probably is the right decision, but again, like a few of these, it's going to be a wait and see job and see what we get up to. The reason I say, I mean, I like McLaughlin's like energy, brings something a bit different than Ballen and Panzu, proper like box to box midfielder. It's probably just the injury record, and then the fact he's 29 years old as well, and you sort of thinking, always with these decisions, it's got to be like, can we improve on that? Can we find can we go out and sign someone who we think is going to be an upgrade on that as a squad player? Or even is the decision, are they going to try and push the boat out slightly and get, my view always, if you move up into League One, we should be trying to make our current starting players squad players with the transfer business that we're doing. That should be the ethos, is like, move everyone in the squad now slightly down the pecking order and try and sign players that mean you're signing like new intended first team players, because that's going to strengthen your entire unit. And maybe that's what they're going to try and centre midfield. I have no idea. So we've got two like really senior established pros. Worth pointing out, I thought Don Ball finished the season like fantastically well. Like in the last 2 months or so of the season, don't know whether he's had fitness issues or system or whatever, but he was one of, apart from obviously like more eye catching like Gibbo, I thought Don Ball was one of our strongest players in like March, April, and then obviously last day of the season as well. So he deserves a ton of credit. I would now look at him as like our established first choice centre midfielder, and it might be they're looking to pair someone with him in that kind of McLaughlin mould. They've obviously decided it isn't McLaughlin. I think the injury, if he'd been fit all season, I think you can make a case to hold on to him and think that, again, a lot of the stuff we just said about Brophy in terms of this guy being like hardworking, diligent, good senior pro is all there. Again, that could be a similar thing to Brophy at his age and stage. Could be a very similar conversation. Look, we don't see you in the plans of the first team makeup at League One, so we're going to offer you this. But we totally understand if you want to go and try and find yourself something more permanent or something more first team. And I think anyone who's in their sort of late 20s, early 30s, they shouldn't be looking to coast. You're not trying to coast your career out from the age of 29. You should be looking to go and get 2, 3, 4 years more first team football and back yourself. So I guess it could be a similar conversation we've had with McLaughlin as we've had with Brophy. Don't know.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. He's a player I actually quite like this season, Swindle. It's just, as you say, Caspell, the injuries, he felt like he never could quite get his teeth into a proper run of form in the side. He was always in and out a little bit. Whenever he played, I always liked the way I liked him as a player and the sort of profile of player he was, and I'm sure I guess the plan is, right, to go out and just try and upgrade on a similar mould and profile to what he is and what he offers in centre midfield, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, had we not got promoted this season, had we fallen down into the playoffs and then lost there, he would have been a shoo-in, I think, to stay. I think he's perfect for League Two. And like you say, maybe next season would have been able to get a run without injuries. But, across the competitions he played, in the region of about 25 games for United, but there wasn't that consistent run. And I think you can't really be carrying passengers at that level. He'd be a nice to have, but not someone you'd want to be taken up and having to rely on. And he showed some really good flashes for United in League Two, but we know there's a massive quality difference between League Two and League One, and I think League One's actually looking really competitive next year with the teams that are coming down from the Championship and who's still in there. So I think it's quite important that that ruthlessness that we keep talking about, I'm not even sure it's the right word, but just being kind of a bit more direct with how we manage who's at the club and who's there. And I think they'll have to bring someone in with a proven track record, and who can play consistently and at that level, really. So I think there's going to be some quite high profile signings in every position, and I think McLaughlin did a really nice job for United, and there was a lot of fans who really warmed to him and always just quietly went about his business, putting a really good shift when he was there. But I think, like you both say, I think injury was the thing that's probably stopped him moving on to the next level with us. But yeah, we've fondly remembered for his short time at United, and yeah, hopefully they get someone in who's got that League One pedigree and a bit more kind of staying power in the starting lineup.
He only actually played 3 full 90s in the league for us this year, just looking through the numbers. I mean, plenty of starts in there, gets taken off in quite a few games, just that midfield rotation, I guess, within games. But he's been kind of, he's not been ever present enough for the maybe low ceiling of his quality to kind of balance out there. So, but I do want to talk through a couple of big moments, because there were a couple of big moments, and I think the big one, Caspell's got to be Chesterfield away, hasn't it? I love this finish. Well, it's actually one of my favourite goals of the year.
Really good goal, mate. Made
Brophy
all the
to McLaughlin as well. There's something
Brophy to McLaughlin, yeah. Made all the sweeter by turning around and realising Tom Walker wasn't there. As always, nothing better. No, mate, really good finish. I mean, really important goal as well. Clutch goal, important goal in what was quite a tight football match, where we needed everything to go our way. And then same with his goal at Crawley, is a really good finish. And again, at a really important moment in time in a game. So they scored 2, they just for half time, both the goals. Yeah. 2 really important opening goals in games. to split a couple of games open for us and give us an opportunity to go on and get. I mean, every point we got was valuable. Mostly because we finished on 82, and that's what I said would happen. So thanks for that, Shane. But no, yeah, like it's one of those funny ones where in 10 years' time you'll be like, Shane McLaughlin. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I remember him. Do you know what I mean? But right now it's like, hope he gets himself a good move. Same as Brophy, same as all of them who are leaving and moving on. It's like, go get yourself a good move. You've got your promotion. So it's all like, it's ruthless. The whole thing has been ruthless, but it's been like well handled, I think.
Ruthless but right. Another ruthless but right one, and I've put this in a category that I've classed as sad but correct, which is also how I describe you, Matt Caspell.
And you've written Elias Kachunga.
I've written Shane Lavery in this. Not that this is a surprise at all. It's obviously the right decision. I just feel so sorry for him, and he seems like such a likable person. He's got so much talent, but it's just those injuries. We've kind of known this since January, really, haven't we? I know he was maybe flirted with us a little bit when he started against Notts County. Like, could he be your fourth choice? Is there enough there? I guess the decision's just a squad like ours can't really carry him as your fourth, even fifth choice striker if you can't rely on him to basically start more than one match.
Mate, watch him go and like start 44 games next year, score 28 goals or something. Yeah.
The thing is, I think I'd obviously be absolutely fuming, but I'd be so happy for him as a bloke, because it's hard to see kind of where his career actually goes next, isn't it? I mean, where do you think? Do you think he gets himself a League Two move? Does someone risk him as a sub, Swindle?
Yeah, I reckon so. I reckon there's enough in there in that player. And also, like, you look at the kind of minutes per goal ratio, and actually, you know, it's pretty good. And I think, like, it's a type of player that you could really kind of bring in. And you know, we spent too long trying to get the best out of Shane Lavery by bringing him back from injury, easing him back in, and then getting him to start games. And I wonder if Shane Lavery's kind of career could, you know, from here on could be built on being that player that comes on from the bench kind of almost exclusively, like not angling for a starting place, but being the player that it comes on and impacts the game at 70 minutes, pops up with a really important goal. And there's teams in League Two for sure that, you know, are going to look at a player like Shane Lavery and think, God, that could be, you know, someone who could do a real job for us. There's teams down there, and I don't want to put any disservice towards Shane Lavery's name, but you look at the teams like Crawley, Tranmere, Newport, Shrewsbury, you know, all these teams that kind of just survived, who might need a player like that, and I think it would be a really kind of appetizing thing. And it's sad for us because he was the nearly man and still scored some absolutely massive goals for us, but it was just always seemed to be, once the momentum was building, it was kind of cruelly, you know, taken away from us. And I think that hamstring is a real problem for him. But I think, you know, that's the point. You can spend a summer kind of rebuilding and recouping and doing work on it. And I'm sure everyone around him will be working hard on that. And, you know, there'll be a group, you know, working with him to try and build that back to some sort of fitness. But yeah, I think he could be a really dangerous kind of impact player to sign for a League Two side. So I really hope it goes well for him. Like you say, if he scored a hatful of goals next season, then good on him. But yeah, a shame to see him go, but 100% the right decision.
Yeah, I think he's got to go find one of those money clubs. He's got to try and pitch up at Salford, I reckon, or something like that. Get himself a really good, like, he'll get good money there, and he can be part of a unit where there isn't a reliance on him. I'm not sure he's going to Newport County, so they'll flog him. They'll need a player at his like level of pay to be like universally available, like kind of like we have. Because if he gets himself a Salford, he's going to be in that attacking unit with like Udo, Graydon, Lavery, Barini. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll be one of a number of strikers they'll look at for output, and I think that sort of move will suit him, and obviously the money for him will be good. And it's a sad thing. I think he's 26 years old, but he needs to make sure he needs to earn as much money. They all do, obviously, but he needs to really focus on earning as much like cash as he can. So I hope for his sake he finds himself like a smart move like that. Because I think he can be productive, as Swindle said, if he was used right. Worth pointing out at this point, we made the absolute right decision to start him towards the end of the season. And I know we were 100% looking out for our own interest, maybe slightly more than like his long-term welfare, which is arguably a bit cutthroat. But it's like we totally used him in the right way, and we got the right output from him. And it's easy to say, I think if he'd held on another 20, 30 minutes at Bromley, we might have won that football match as well, because he was having such a big impact. So it's like, I don't think we deployed him badly at the end there. I just think we had to do it, and we just got promoted by the barest of margins. So it's like we totally got that right, even and in a weird way. And if he'd been incredibly ruthless, kind of should have started him towards the end of the season to see if there was. It's almost giving him a little audition of like, well, can you be fit? Is it actually going to work? And then finding out that he definitely wasn't has made that decision for us a hell of a lot easier in terms of, shake hands and wish him all the best and move him on.
Yeah, completely agree. I think that's a really good point to raise. He's a massive part in one of the biggest wins of the season against Notts County. And the theory starting him on the Thursday night, which came as a shock to us, really should have worked. He hit the bar. He was a massive part in all those chances created in the first half. It should have paid off. And like you say, it's been a massive part of the difference with us actually going up or not. And just on the point of the stats, and the more I look at these, the more someone in League Two definitely will take a punt on him if they build the right structure around him. Goals per 90, top of the whole league. Him, Barini, Drinan, top three. Drinan ended the season as top scorer. XG per 90, he's top of that. Shots on target per 90, he's top of that. Shots per 90, he's top of that. So like he's having massive impact when he's come on. In his limited game time. We know how good a player there is in there. It's such a shame he can't keep fit because he's such a fantastic player. But then I guess the flip of that is he would never have played in League Two if he could keep fit, because there is a much better player in there than a League Two player. So he goes with all the best wishes, I'm sure, of every United fan. And I was going to ask best memories, but to be honest, I think that Notts County game, because there was an element of not sign off in that, but like you're really doing your part here, even though we know that even if you stay fit for the rest of this season, we're probably not going to take a risk on you. And it was almost like a sort of goodbye in a way, wasn't it?
I think the other one, which would have been MK at home. Had we won that game 1-0,
huge moment.
It would have been such a huge moment, and Lavery there again at the right time. And sadly, we all know how that game ended. But I think just a key player, a clutch player at clutch times. But like you say, that injury's really kind of hampered him throughout his career. But we wish him all the best, and hopefully this summer can be a big one for him, and next season a big one too.
Yep, absolutely. Completely agree. Let's wrap through a few of the other ones because time is of the essence, not because they haven't had a big impact. Let's start with Corey Smith. What I've written here, Caspell, is bigger impact off the pitch than on it, probably.
Hope so.
I mean, yeah.
Fucking hope so. Otherwise he's done next to fuck all. Sorry, thanks, Corey.
Yeah, brilliant.
Scored at Stevenage, didn't he? That was nice.
Scored at Stevenage, that was good.
That was it.
I guess he's one of those players that like he came. It's hard because he comes with that big reputation of definitely on big wages, the sort of profile of player where he just come from being promoted with Derby. You're expecting him to have a huge impact on the pitch. Probably didn't quite work out that way. Copy and paste what we said about McLaughlin with availability as well, and injuries always in and out of the side as well. So that he's not really doing himself a load of favours in that respect. I would say though the reason I've said the impact off the pitch is, I look at those videos again to come back to it, and again he seems like a big personality, big sort of off the pitch player, I guess, if you see what I'm saying, in the squad without knowing too much of the ins and outs of it. I mean, it's the right decision, of course, Caspell, isn't it? Do you think it's as much about the profile of the other centre mids that we've got around him than it is just Corey Smith and the impact he's had?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to go into a League One season next year with McLaughlin age 29, Ball I think is 31 or 32, and Pansy's either 32 or 33, and then Smith age 35. Like that's not it's not particularly when you figure how much hard work we're gonna have to do without the ball next season. So like average possession for us next season is going to top out 35%. Let's guess.
Which Harris will love, by the way.
Which Harris is all about, and I'm all about as well.
It'll be fuming if it hits 40.
Yeah. Like it's too much, isn't it? So it's like, we're going to need like a real engine room. We're going to need like real running. I think there's a lot of who we sign is going to like focus on athleticism. And I'm not saying Corey Smith isn't any of that. I'm just saying a player who's 35 now, turning 36 next season, probably. And then in that unit of other players. So yeah, I would agree. Seems like a good guy. I think it's one of those things you could see there's something there. So like when he had his good moments, and even like in small ways towards the running, when he come on at Accrington, he was like quarterbacking. He was like, oh, okay, this guy is like actually running this football match like he should be, because Accrington are pinned in their own 18-yard box. But I think he's another one of those. And we've had quite a few of these over the last 3 or 4 years where we've signed a sort of impressive CV footballer in centre mid, on presumably quite a high wage, and they haven't quite lived up to that expectation or the CV they're carrying. And you could make a case to say we've still got some of those in that centre midfield unit now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. You can the kind of summary for me is just one of those players that great CV, but we've just caught them at the wrong end of their career, and someone whose career is just sliding.
Why did we sign so many of those for?
But that's the thing, isn't it?
Why did we like? It's like, I'm not saying like they're all grouped together, but like Jordan Cousins, and you've just gone and done like the exact same thing again in terms of profile.
And because just say the flip of that is Morrow, right? Is someone who, and maybe there's like a club tie in there, but I'm not saying that he's got better, but I don't think his level has noticeably dropped off in the same way a Smith, a Cousins, a Kachunga did. I think with Smith you saw it in flashes. With Morrow you see the deficiency in flashes. If that makes sense, it's the other way around.
Yeah, the opposite of flashes is. Yeah.
I
know what you mean. But they were kind of addressing this anyway with that recruitment policy, and then for our benefit, obviously George Hoddle's emerged last season fantastically well and has given us a really good, like, youthful, again, sort of homegrown option to have in the squad. So we need a sort of energetic, basically don't have to play 150 games in the Championship. Like, we can just go and sign someone who doesn't fit that profile. And we maybe should.
Yeah, that would be it, wouldn't it? Another one who fits this perfect mould is Elias or Elias.
As many know him.
Swindle, probably never quite, again, this is a bit copy and paste, never quite had the impact that we hoped. He became a bit of a scapegoat maybe at points throughout his United spell. There was that one spell, if you want to talk about highlights with him, under Harris the first time around when he was playing with a Hadmi. Is definitely his strongest run with United. I think Harris coined the 9.5, I'm pretty sure, for Kachunga. Clearly sort of wasn't fancied towards the end of this year. What do you make to Kachunga's time? Because it's one of those that maybe people have gone a touch overboard with I've seen a few people say like one of our worst ever signings or something like that, which just feels massively over the top.
Oh, that's rubbish. That's absolutely rubbish. Like, there've been plenty of games where Elias Kachunga's made a huge difference to Cambridge United. And like you say, you reference back to those that had made times. There's been times where he's come at clutch. You look at this season and you look at the back end of last season and things petered out for Kachunga. There's no two ways about that. But I do think people jumped on a bandwagon. It happened with Brophy the season before. You know, he was the absolute scapegoat for a lot of other bad things that went wrong. I think, you know, Brophy had some poor times in the season, but, you know, really came out the other end. And I don't think, sadly, Kachunga got the opportunity to do that. I think his performances dropped quite quickly after that really good spell under Harris the first time, but nowhere near one of our worst signings. Absolutely not. Like, he really put a shift in early on and was quite versatile, playing, you know, around the front. You know, would quite often be, you know, support the striker, could play out wide and did a real job. So I think, you know, brought that experience from a higher level, you know, of course, Premier League experience with Huddersfield, and really did, you know, I think he did quite well when he started. And I think, you know, people are quite fickle and forget, you know, how good players can be, you know, in a period, and then things go badly, especially when you get a relegation and the player stays in the season and doesn't really, you know, contribute. He didn't really get an awful lot of chance this season to do anything and kind of right any wrongs from the season before and convince any naysayers as well. So I think there's the abiding memory of a lot of people is a kind of, you know, that scapegoat season, and that's what they associate with him. But there was a lot of football played before that, and I think he deserves some credit and did put a shift in from the club. A man as well who, you know, settled here and kind of up sticks and moved to Cambridge and made this his home. And I do think, yeah, there's a lot of fond memories, so that should be remembered, and a fonder farewell than he's going to get. But yeah, someone who's been really good for United, and hopefully for whatever happens for him, whether it's you know, retirement or another club, we'll see. But yeah, I don't think he's anywhere near our worst signings ever.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Really good is maybe a stretch. I mean, maybe like okay in flashes,
quite good.
Scored 12 goals in League One over 2 seasons, like as part of a sort of failing unit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good high production outline. I'm not saying that he justified it, or I just think he's fallen victim to, again, a sort of the Ryan Loft setup or whatever of like our woeful striker recruitment, which seemed to have dogged us for the last like however many years in certain
112 years.
Just the entire club's history, basically, it feels like. He's just another victim. Just another one on the pyre of that. Like, there is a world at League Two level, definitely, where he could have been a good contributor if you could get the right unit around it. Even this season, we just didn't have remotely the right attacking unit, without being too critical. We obviously got promoted and we scored enough goals. But, like, there's a world where he could have contributed more in the right setup, and I think he'll go on and get himself probably a decent conference or bottom of League Two gig and do another year. I just love that he loves Cambridge so much. He's fallen in love with the city, which is great. Also, when the Ver2 group stage ended, he was the top scorer, mate, this season.
That's huge.
But he's been robbed. He's been robbed of being the Ver2 top scorer. Yeah.
Poor lad, and that really must leave a sour taste for him.
Well, and then you getting his name wrong on the pod, obviously.
I was going to ask about catch highlights, but there's nothing beyond me getting his name wrong, having just asked him how to say his name.
So good.
A real pod highlight for me. I think. It goes up there with the Don Ball press conference. But yes, Kachunga, I think maybe one of those that time will sort of be favourable to how people think of his United career, and we'll probably look back on it maybe slightly more fondly than in the moment we were, if that makes sense, because we definitely have sat on this pod after games and been frustrated at his output or lack of it or lack of involvement. But yeah, definitely not one that I'd put anywhere near like a worse signings, and obviously it goes with well wishes again. And then lastly, to note Ben Purrington, I mean, probably one of the more underwhelming signings of the summer. The system change probably didn't suit him at all, Caspell. Never got too much of a chance after that, really. Highlights probably win. I think it was him that won the penalty against Shrewsbury in the last minute. I'm pretty sure it was.
Only highlight.
Only highlight, yeah, probably.
Only highlight. Look, it's just not worked out for him, right? He's disappeared down the sort of Brandon Houndstruck, triangle or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Fair enough. We got no idea. Can't even comment on whether I think he's good at football or not, because we just didn't see enough. I would agree with you, the system change was not good for him. He ended up just being used as a sort of weird attacking outlet when we were chasing football matches, because he's tall and he would match up against their fullbacks, and he was like okay at that, and as you say, won that penalty. So, and that was important as well. So every point we got meant something. So every contribution from everyone just mentioned, like even like Kachunga's assist at Barrow, like they're all important because we only just got promoted. So Thanks, Ben. Good luck, basically.
He will be a pub quiz question in a few years. So definitely.
I think so. Yeah. Him, Houndstruck, all the mystery, the left backs. How many left backs can you name?
Jake Carroll. Anyway, look, let's wrap up this bit of the retained list pod, because Swindle's actually got somewhere to be. So that's basically all the players that are leaving at the end of the contract: Michael Morrison, James Brophy, Elias Kachunga, Corey Smith, Shane Lavery, Shane McLaughlin, Ben Purrington. Just quickly, Swindle, before you go, you thought we'd forgotten, but let's wrap this bit up with a favourite Morrow memory, because that's something we didn't talk about in the moment. Is there anything that stands out to you in this spell? Well, it could be in both spells, but I assume you're going to pick something from this spell.
Yeah, I don't have anything from the first spell, I'm very sorry to say. And to be honest, like, the more I think about Morrow, it's more of a kind of like ceremony. I really enjoyed the fact that we got to see him on Saturday. It's the most recent memory, but seeing him out there and the kind of adoration from his colleagues, his peers, is like quite an amazing thing to see, like a player who's obviously not featured at all in the season, and then him coming back, for a little cameo at the end of this season, and just being there with all those players who've, worked so hard this year. You can see that his impact stretches much further from on the pitch, and like that was like a very nice thing to see, and it's what I meant at the start of the pod. I really hope that we see Morrow back at this club one day, kind of in a coaching capacity, and that's a man with real passion for Cambridge United, and just seeing that on Saturday was a really touching moment.
I'll nick the obvious one.
Surely the goal, mate. It's got to be Maradona, isn't it? Swindle. Someone's forgotten. Swindle's forgotten.
Maradona against Shrewsbury. I mean, what a goal that is! Incredible. Have you got one from the first spell, Caspell, that you want to call out? Come on,
no, mate. Come on.
No.
Good. I really liked his debut against Halifax. I remember that.
Yeah. One of the 1600. Oh, no, mate, I don't remember much of that first spell. They were pretty unremarkable set of seasons that he was around for. In that weird bit of the conference, post-relegation, pre-playoff campaigns, sort of unique, quiet time in our history, I guess.
Right, okay, we're back. Few other little bits to talk through. Swindle's gone. It's just me and you, Caspell.
Has he been released, mate? Yeah. Is this our retained list? He's been released from the pod. Sorry, mate.
And it's just about the right sort of time.
Well, yeah, you're talking about Ben Purrington. I thought Swindle was going to be next on the list, mate.
I've a couple of bits to chat through from the retained list. Eastwood contract option is probably a bit of good news that I don't think anyone was expecting. There was a bit of chat in our group whether we would look to upgrade the keeper. Maybe a bit of recency bias talking because of the way his April went and a few of those sort of lapses after the defensive record we've had. Does feel a bit harsh to kind of be talking about him like that, maybe, though.
Yeah, I mean, you got to like zoom in and zoom out, I guess. The sort of last month of the season has highlighted, but then underlined some concerns that you might have about him in terms of it's almost mentality, like if it's concentration or dealing with pressure. And there's that lingering concern, I guess, that if you take him up to the League One level, where he's going to face more traffic, more shots, more everything, how is he going to transfer into that? I guess is the question. I feel like this is a department we should be trying to sign definitely a first team player. I'm happy. Again, Eastwood seems like a solid pro and you'd have him in the squad. But then I would question at his age and stage whether that's right for him as well, similar to sort of Brophy, McLaughlin. I think Eastwood's 28, maybe. But obviously that was his first proper full season. He had most of the season, I think, with Grimsby. But, at his age, because he was knocking around as a sort of backup keeper for quite a while, he's not played as many games as you might think. So I was thinking about this the other day because I've been a bit hard on Eastwood as well. And I do sort of think if you perform that well throughout the season and help your team get promoted with this incredible defensive and clean sheet record, 20 clean sheets, you probably do deserve. I think he's probably earned the right to have a start next year and to have the number one shirt. And then for us to be, well, for me to probably be proven wrong and for him to show that he can do it at League One level. It would be maybe too ruthless if you're thinking, go and sign a senior pro. But I've got a feeling, I mean, Walton, obviously, who was a one-time appearance down at Bromley, got a suspicion based on how we spoke about that at the time that we'll probably go back for him. And there'll be a bit of sense of there isn't a clearly established number one. There isn't an obvious pecking order here. And we're going to see how that goes. And that probably still, I think, might be Eastwood starting, but Walton very much like there to step in if we decide that we want to take it in that direction.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can see that. It's also worth mentioning, and it's probably something we'll talk about on a probably a coconut tier pod over the next couple of months. If we do another stats pod with Ben Griffiths, who obviously writes so many brilliant articles for the website, and a couple of times this season he's flagged up that some of the sort of underlying defensive numbers don't point too favourably on Eastwood, specifically talking about, I think we at one point conceded 4 shots on target and all 4 went in over a couple of games in November, which doesn't paint fantastically on a keeper. I mean, I know there's a lot of context around them as well, but it's something that we can discuss and see if how those numbers are looking, aside from the fact that there's probably a big question mark. It's funny, isn't it? Because I think actually Swindle raised this point when we were talking about this, that you kind of maybe expected Eastwood's season to go in reverse and maybe start a bit dodgy because of the warnings and the way that other fans spoke about him, but then maybe end a bit more solid as he's kind of learned and become accustomed to playing week in, week out with this defence. But the question mark and the asterisk is maybe just around how that season ended for him and a few of those individual errors, which, luckily didn't cost us in the end, but were definitely a huge source of frustration for plenty of fans. But I think you're right that he definitely deserves a pop at it, and I'm glad that you want to do what you can to not break up the defensive unit that's been the best in the EFL, right? It might just be as simple as that, and he's obviously been a huge part of that. 4 loan players head back. Caspell, any chance we'll try and keep any of these, do you think? I mean, May is the obvious one. Might be a bit of a stretch to keep him.
I think they're going to want to. I think they're certainly going to try, particularly with Brophy moving on. I mean, his quality is just undeniable. I think he's only 21 years old or something. Easy to forget because of how mature he is when he plays his football. I think he has an opportunity to be a really big contributor in League One level. So I really hope they're doing it. I really hope they're trying to get it done anyway.
I totally see a world, by the way, where Millwall go up in the Championship playoffs and he just gets loaned straight back to us, with Millwall's view that the chances are they go straight back down, and then they've got a player who's made the step up through the divisions to be a championship player for them again when they're back in there. I can totally see that logic for them, planning wise, and us being why not the perfect club. He's had such a good year with us. So I actually don't think it's maybe quite as, well, I hope it's not as unrealistic as maybe it seems on paper, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just want us to get it done. However we get it done, just find a way, I guess, because he's had a really big impact. So, yeah, I think we've got to see. I think his deal's up at Millwall. So they got to retain. I think if they go up, they won't retain him.
Oh, that's interesting.
If they go up, there's no world, I think, where they hold on to him. Seems unlikely.
FOTMob gives me 2027, his deal.
Oh, interesting. Transfer market gives me 2026.
Well, who the hell knows?
Interesting. So there you go. Proof that you can't rely on almost anything you see. All right. Well, jury's out whether I assume he wouldn't get retained if Millwall went up. I think if they stay in Championship, we've got a really good chance. So actually, sorry, Neil Harris, but you've got to hope that maybe Millwall stay where they are, and we've probably got a really good chance of getting him back. And I think they'll certainly be trying to get that done, definitely. With the others, I'm not sure. I mean, Kouassi's just got an extension at Blackpool, which is really good for him. Again, hoping we'll learn from the hamstring challenges that we've had across the entire unit and just think, let's just not do that. He seems to be a player who, the less games he played, the higher rated he was by our fan base. And there's something in that, because just as he got injured the first time around before he just came back for that tiny cameo, he was showing signs of like real promise that if you could get a good partner with him, basically you want a fully fit Shane Lavery next to a fully fit Kylian Kouassi, and we might have a really, certainly at League 2 level, a very potent attacking force, but even at League 1 level, you think that might be able to do something. Would also get Apre into the perfect box. I'm okay with Apre being around if he's like third or fourth choice impact player off the bench. You can kind of get on board with that. We're just, again, striking department have ended up in such a weird situation with the personnel and who's been deployed where, and obviously that unit right now looking pretty threadbare, isn't it?
It is a bit, isn't it? Well, don't talk about Loft like that. We're going to come to that in a second. Whoa. I mean, Kouassi, it's worth saying you're totally right about his sort of reputation increased the more he didn't play, because he scored 2 in 13 in the league per 90. That's 0.22 goals per 90. It's about 1 in 5, which isn't an amazing record for a team that's on the way up. But obviously we were a team that struggled to create chances, especially in that period of the season when he was playing a lot. So it's an interesting one. I know that a few Blackpool fans were a bit surprised that they actually kept him on. So I'm not sure how much he would play for them next year. So it's one that I'm sure we could go in for. It's just, again, it's whether we think there's an upgrade there, and how we want to sort of organise that striker unit of the squad. Gibbons' contract offer, I mean, obvious. Would you assume he signs this without any knowledge? What sort of other club is offering him a deal, do you think?
I don't really know. I mean, this is the redemption arc of all redemption arcs. The season of redemption arcs, but this has got to be one of the biggest, I think. I don't blame him. I mean, obviously they've just put a deal in front of him. I don't blame him if he's stalling on it or seeing what else he can do that's better. Again, he's 28 years old. He's had a real breakthrough season. I think he will attract quite a lot of attention just because the numbers just speak for themselves. It's like he's been part of the strongest defensive unit in the division. He's our highest rated player. And he's gone and banged 6 goals and got a few assists. It's hard to look. There isn't any more data you really need to see to think this guy could do a bit of a job. I guess the only question mark people are going to have about him is, why hasn't he done that? Why hasn't he produced any of those numbers at any other stage in his career? Why is he 10 years into his career as a pro and he's only just doing this now? So I think we got a decent chance, but I can't believe some kind of weird fever dream. You tell me, I'll be really disappointed that James Gibbons has left the club. I'm just what is going on? He's just been so brilliant down the stretch. You know what I mean? Had such a big impact. So he kind of typifies what this whole team is about, I think, this Harris team. So there's a bit of a vibes, you know what I mean? There's a vibe factor here where I sort of really hope we do retain him. Because just think, and we'll talk about this thing when we do pre-season pod, I guess, and we'll know what's going on with Gibbons. But it's, of all the players where you think he's going to be able to translate to League One, on like purely not on necessarily footballing terms, but just on like all the other characteristics. And I just think you definitely want him in the unit. I have no idea who else would be out there offering for him, but have to wait and see, won't we?
I think he'll sign for us because I don't know how much bigger a League One club goes for him, especially playing first team football. And I think he'd want to have a good pop at League One with us, having been here a little while. And he probably loves Harris. I mean, Harris has got all this out of him. So I'd be personally pretty surprised, but you don't know where else he's getting offered. And, you know, if there is someone big in for him, like you say, that you don't need more data than just the goals and it's pretty eye-catching. So maybe. Look, that's it. That's the retained list. Let's have a little look at where the current squad stands. This is what we've got. In the goalkeeping department, Eastwood, Hughes, Briggs. In defence, Watts, Job, Gibbons contract offer. Liam Bennett, Bradshaw, Ibsen Rossi. In midfield, Ball and Panzu, Knight, Kai, Hoddle, McConnell. Obviously, I've put Knight and Kai in as midfielders. You know, them attackers, not centre mids. And then up front, Appare, Loft, and George Monday.
What a unit.
What a unit. Imagine if we just don't sign a striker.
Mate, I would not, honestly. The way we've conducted our business the last few years, signing strikers, I wouldn't be shocked.
We've done worse.
Or we go and sign like Freddie Eastwood now or something, or Connor Washington like 8 years too late or something. Just catching them on the way down. Just get immediately injured and out all season. I've got no idea, but like we need to strengthen that striking unit, like
big time,
pretty seriously.
When I look at that as a list, I think, oh god, lots of work to do, and there is a fair amount of work to do. But then also the flip of that is 10 of the 11 starters from Saturday and 10 of our sort of regular 11 starters over the last couple of months of the season are still there. Basically, it's just no Mayer and Brophy, I guess, as well, who obviously played a big part when Mayer was injured. So would you describe it as a good base to start with, but lots of work to do?
I think that's a fair description. Yeah, I think it's that same thing you said earlier. You're going to want to be signing. We should be trying to sign 4 or 5 players. You're thinking they're going to be starters in League One for us, at least. And then you need to sign probably another 4 or 5 to orbit that. And interesting is what they see, what they do with some of the younger players, I guess, like Bradshaw. You're going to want to get him out on loan, right? Maybe even Hoddle. Maybe, I do think he can have a impact, but I think but how we went wrong last time up into League One is that we probably were too reliant on that sort of thinking of translating that League Two squad up into League One. And I just think it's got to be getting more and more competitive League One. Some of the size those clubs we're talking about is just like astronomical up at the top of that division. So I think they'll be looking at this. That our big challenge now as a club, when we're talking in big terms, is stay in League One, establish yourself, and work on that commercial side of the club. Find a way to try and get the Abbey capacity up anyway, anyhow, and keep monetizing everything and just like keep growing that commercial side of the club as they've been doing so well, so that we've got more budget to be more sustainable at League One level. But it's a hell of a challenge. And we got another big transfer window definitely coming up. I can't wait for the panic. Swindle's our chief panicker. He's gone already.
He's probably panicking now, yeah.
He'll be panicking now. But you just know in 3-4 weeks' time, we roll around into June and nothing's done yet or whatever. And the panic is just going to start. So, and we're going to get that bingo card out. And we're told how we're a small fish in a big pond and we can't sign the players we want to sign early. So we have to wait and see who falls through the cracks and stuff like this. And the PFA squad comes out and it's got like Britta Sombalonga in it again. And someone's like, just go and get it done. He's that head loss all round. It's that's all we've got to look forward to in the summer, really, isn't it?
The summer.
So, and then the World Cup. So
exactly, more disappointment.
Probably more disappointment.
It's worth maybe just outlining, like I think this is right, but I looked at the squad from last summer that we ended the transfer window with. And if you're basing it on that and the kind of squad makeup we had, what we're missing is 2 centre-backs, a left-back, 2 centre-mids, 2 attackers/wingers, and 3 strikers. There's obviously things there like if Hoddle plays a bigger part, then maybe it's only 1 centre-mid. Maybe the same with Monday, but I would assume a Monday, a McConnell, Hoddle, Bradshaw, Briggs probably all try and go out on loan. Ibsen Rossi, I would expect, probably stays in Ireland. Loft, I wouldn't expect as much part to play if we either offload him or goes out on loan again next year. So it is probably quite threadbare, but I kind of see it as quite a good opportunity. And I think that there's a part of me that, because it's us kind of second bite of the cherry in League One, I think, yeah, let's be ruthless this time. Let's go cutthroat. Let's really give this a proper pop this time, and maybe try and get rid of this little old Cambridge thing a little bit and try and attack it as a bit more of a, like, this is where we deserve to be. I've seen a lot of that back where we belong. I've seen like Mark Bonner say it, players say it, and even just the mentality of that, I think, is probably quite a good thing to approach the season with. But plenty of time to talk about all of this throughout the summer. Let's just end quickly on the season tickets, because they came out this morning as we're recording on Thursday. Happily surprised at quite a moderate increase. I think it's just a £30 increase for us in the NRE, which is what, £1.30 a game we've worked it out as. Feels pretty good considering the level of opposition that's going to come to the Abbey next year, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, like on an individual level, we're obviously happy with it. I wonder if we could have done more with it, as in we could have charged more. Felt like, to me, in our recent history, this is probably our best opportunity to have increased.
Really rinsed us.
Well, yeah, just rinse it, I'm afraid. Like, yeah, for want of a better expression, I felt like we couldn't really do that when we got promoted last time from League Two to League One, because it kind of off the back of COVID and a lot of uncertainty around, like, even like, will there be more pandemic? You know, we're going to have a real big problem here in terms of stuff being closed again. So I just felt like that wasn't really the moment. Whereas this feels like, if you're ever going to do it, it feels like now's the time. So everyone I've spoken to has been pleasantly surprised by what they've done. I don't know, it's just supply and demand, isn't it? Within reason, like, you don't want to go crazy, but I feel like we will still sell, and at this price we'll definitely sell probably our record ever number of season tickets, I would guess, which is fantastic for the club, obviously for cash flow, but just great reputationally as well. I can't wait. We're gonna sell the Abbey out so many times next season. It's just gonna be
so many,
a hell of a lot of fun.
We'll probably see what record season ticket sales this year, I would imagine.
I think they've said that every season for like last 20 years from memory, but I think they'll maybe mean it this time. I have no idea. Look, it's great. I mean, this is a good moment, I think, to give credit to, I'm guessing, Alex Tunbridge, not just for all the commercial work, but the decision to give the South Stand to home fans felt quite big, and it wasn't necessarily universally agreed with. But I think it's absolutely paying dividends now, because you feel so confident that if we continue it and be persistent with it, is going to yield like huge returns over. We talk about legacy in a way, like getting more young people into the Abbey, get more families into the Abbey, making it desirable, and then helping them transfer into like full adult, you know, sad acts like you and me, go home and away. It's just like really important for the long-term future of the club. So I would say that calculated risk that probably has cost us money in the short term, I think will definitely pay back in the long term. I think it's great. Like, it's just a really good thing to see.
This year, the South Stand will sell out loads. I'm sure of it. Like,
of course it will.
It's going to be this year. It's good. It will. You're so right about it being a long-term fantastic decision, even back in League Two or like the latter end of League One. But this year, it's going to be all full of home fans. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, even anecdotally, just seeing on like Facebook, like the people commenting, tagging their mates, and you can tell it's South Stand, like families going, oh yeah, we didn't get one last year, but we're definitely going to get one this year.
Yeah,
the boys love it, and I'm like, that's just so nice to see. It's just like, we honestly, I've gone through so many years watching the club. Like, half my experience watching this club over the last 25 years has been like, you know, all jokes aside about Morrow's debut, rattling around in these like crowds of like 1, 2, 3,000 people, literally swing a cat in the home ends, just like pretty bleak stuff. And now just being like a really hot commodity, you know, it feels like the tickets are really actually like desirable now, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I've gone and obviously got my season ticket this morning, and we go again.
Yeah, me too. Brilliant. All right, let's wrap it up there. We've done another over an hour. So much to chat about at the moment. Do go sign up to the coconut tier. This is the time to tell you that. I'm actually going to mention two specific things here about the coconut tier that have come to my attention.
Oh, yeah.
The first one is that a few people have said, oh, it's £7, not £5. And I've figured out why that is. And it's, if you buy it through the Substack app on Apple take 30%. Because they're robbing bastards. So what you need to do is just do it on a desktop or do it on just a browser. Don't do it through the Substack app, because iOS or whatever will take 30%. So if you have done that and it is taking more, either speak to the Substack people, I'm sure they'll be able to sort you out, or maybe unsubscribe, but then do resubscribe. And And also, the other thing that's worth saying is if what's stopping you subscribing is that you can't get your podcasts, the extra podcasts on your favorite podcast player, you can. I'll put an article in the description which tells you exactly how to take the coconut tier feed and put it into Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. So you can get them all in your usual place if that helps you. We've got plenty of stuff coming up there. We just had to get our ducks in a row this week. So sorry nothing's come out just yet, but interviews getting organised and we've got extra pods sorted for the rest of May. So stay tuned there. There'll be plenty coming up. And Caspell, I'll see you very soon for one of those, I imagine.
Yeah, probably any day now, based on how it's going. I need a rest, mate. I need some downtime. When do I get a rest?
We're going to take a break in June, mate. Don't worry. We'll put us some time in June for a break. And then we'll be right back to it. Absolutely no rest for the wicked, is there?